and welcome to another episode of Hotel Room Yap with Michaela. I am in Orlando, at the Hilton Orlando. I just got back from a lovely evening at Universal Studios, and I wanted to talk about this last night, and I was so crazy tired, and it's still late, but for some reason, I have energy, so we're going to talk about it tonight. And we are going to discuss boundaries and how they may piss some people off, and how maybe other people's boundaries may piss you off. We're gonna yap about boundaries a little bit. I feel like the word boundaries has also, I'm gonna take off my shoes and get comfortable. Feel free to do the same if you happen to be just getting home from work, or if you can also get comfy. I feel like boundaries has a similar weight to it as discipline. I feel like there's all these little strings and weights attached to the word boundaries, especially because you meet lots of people who are like, I have to protect my peace, I have to put up my boundaries and really just save my energy, blah blah blah, and they're they have the potential to be terrible people. So I feel like a lot of us are very wary of okay, what the heck does setting a boundary mean, because I am not trying to become that person. So I feel like the last couple years have been a bit tumultuous. There's so much information. My gosh, we are all so overloaded. I don't even know how most of us function day to day. I feel like there's so much processing happening of every single version of life you could be living, and how it can be wrong and right at the same time. Who has time for that? So, boundaries. They are very important. I think a lot of households, maybe they do, but I feel like mine didn't. A lot of households don't really talk about boundaries. I feel like households are talking about a lot more things, this generation than they have in previous generations. And what does it mean? And what does it mean to figure out what yours are, when it's appropriate / allowed, when you should speak up on behalf of yourself, or maybe even others. Do you ever speak up on behalf of others? And kind of when to instill your boundaries, or when it's maybe a learning moment of oh, I think I just learned a new boundary, and then maybe you instill it next time. Just interesting things to chew on. I'm trying to do a lot of self-reflecting this year, and figure out what is actually a boundary that I need versus maybe a momentary recovery want, if that makes sense. A long-term boundary for you as a person, I feel might be different than if you are perhaps going through a bit of burnout, or it feels good to have my shoes off, or if you are going through seasonal depression, or maybe if you're dealing with a sick parent, or a big move, or a traumatic incident. Those boundaries are going to be different than your personal daily boundaries. Does that make sense? And navigating what those are. What are they? I have so many questions. I don't know. Okay, so for one, I travel a lot, right? And friendships are something that have always been a little bit tricky for me to maintain. Maybe because I just moved a lot as a kid, or I got started in acting, pretty young. So I just got used to auditioning and kind of being in the room and working with adults. And so working with kids, becoming friends with my peers was something a little difficult for me, because I was used to kind of being a little grown up. I was an only child, raised by a single mom. And I just was oh, I can be grown up. I can grow up fast, kind of, which can't really happen. But so I feel like there can be old souls, but I don't think you can grow up fast. Does that make sense? Getting back on track. So because of the fierce independence and just kind of being alone a lot, I got very used to being alone. And the idea of having a friend sounds nice, but I don't know how to maintain it. I also don't know what a healthy friendship looks like. So this last year and a half, I've been really trying to be present and show up for friends and text and check in on people, and keep up with their stories and kind of do the best that I can, but also notice if they're really not giving anything back to me. which is very hard. So like one of my, I guess, I don't even know if this counts as a boundary or maybe this is just a standard. I don't know. We're figuring all the things out on this lovely little Hotel Room Yap series. I just, you know, if you do not reciprocate the energy given, I guess this is a little similar to the episode we recorded before this, I just need to distance myself. And I guess like if I'm home for only 2 or 3 days, I've started saying no to seeing people, even if I haven't seen them in a really long time, because I'm in between trips. But I don't want that to affect the friendship. I'm a big fan of like text in between. Let's hop on a call. Let's hop on a FaceTime. Like, how are you? Share things with me. I'd love to see like this cute dress you just bought. You know, I would love to be included, but I don't always have the time and the energy to, like, if I'm only in town for 36 hours or whatever, 72 hours, to spend a whole evening with you. And I kind of need to rest. I need to recoup. So I'm learning like what are like the base Michaela recharge needs or boundaries, I guess. I do need a lot of sleep. I need a decent amount of alone time, which is I think why I stay up so late, because it feels like it's one of the only times like when the earth is asleep and like I have alone time. I'm not supposed to be anywhere. I'm not supposed to submit anything. I'm not supposed to call anyone. I don't have to respond to an email because no one is awake. Yeah, I think I just solved my insomnia issue. This is my alone time. And I need alone time. Oh, this is so frustrating. Okay, I like kind of knew this, but like saying it out loud. See, this is why we're doing this. So maybe some of these out loud thoughts will be helpful for you too. But this is why, because I am meeting so many people, but I also love being social. So I want to, like, tonight I went to Universal because it was like an after hours event. Obviously I want to go. I love roller coasters. You know, I almost said I'm only in my 20s once. Guess who's 30? Anyway, I'm only going to be this age once. Like, at what point do I need to start saying no to the extracurricular activities and yes to me, if that makes sense? I'm not saying yes to the extracurricular activity like in spite of me. It's not like I'm like, oh, like I should go. No, it's kind of like a habit of like, oh, I love roller coasters. I love Universal. Of course I'm going to go to the after party on Friday night. But why? Because it's fun. Okay. But do I need to recharge? Did I come home at, I think we ended up getting back at like, when did we leave the park? I think we left the park at like 12:45. So I think I got back into this room at like 1:15. So do I need to go so badly that I get back to my room? I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. At 1:15, and then upload a few things, recharge my iPad, whatever stuff for tomorrow, record an episode like this, which will keep me up till 3, is it worth it? Is that worth it? It's like a boundary with myself. I think boundaries with myself are going to be the hardest thing to figure out, because boundaries with other people, I've very quickly, thankfully, it sucked learning this the hard way the last couple of years, but very quickly learning how to wade through all of the bullshit. Whenever I meet somebody, most of the time it's pretty neutral, but I can find out pretty quickly now, thankfully, if you're just sus, if I'm like, no, you're just full of it. I'm not even engaging in this, and I have no interest like catering to those people or, I don't know, pacifying them. You're obviously going to have to work with some people and collaborate and whatever and be professional, of course, but like I no longer overshare or try to have them like me, or I don't know, people please too much, right? Again, be nice. Everyone deserves kindness. People are in different journeys, different interests, different lifestyles. It's totally good. It's all good. But there's no need to like have me freak out and lessen myself and panic and being like, oh my gosh, like I want to try to like connect with you so that you like me. It doesn't matter. Most people are not going to like me. There are millions of people in the world who think wildly differently than I do, and they're not going to like me. A lot of people don't like you. That's not a bad thing. It's okay. Now, it's bad when all of a sudden people start doing crazy things because they don't agree or don't like you. That is a whole other thing. actions that are then like affecting your life in this current interesting political climate, that's when things get weird. But people don't like you a lot. It can be just how you're dressed. It can be how they're feeling that day. It can be because you remind them of their sister. Like, you just have no idea. They tell you this in like acting stuff too. Like, I could walk in and remind the casting director of his ex, and like he will automatically, he or she will have like an automatic just slight reaction, right? Like, you can't control that. So the boundaries with self are going to be more tricky of like, hey, which version of myself am I honoring right now? And am I honoring it because I actually want to honor that? Like, am I actually interested in doing XYZ, or am I like forcing myself to be this kind of person because I think that's what being like the right kind of person, or the best version of myself, or a healthy person? Like, am I force projecting all of these standards to kind of live by? And I mean, I do think some are healthy. Like, I mostly don't drink anymore. I sometimes have wine. Occasionally I'll have like a gin cocktail at like a nice cocktail bar if they have a lovely little arrangement. Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, we should start a drinking game with how many times I yawn in this video. I don't really drink anymore because it's bad for your skin. And I mean, this is for everybody, but for me, I definitely notice it's bad for your skin, it's bad for your voice, it's bad for your throat, it's bad for your digestive system. It's stressful, it numbs your brain, or, you know, not necessarily exactly that, but it affects you in a pretty much completely negative way. There aren't really any positive side effects of drinking alcohol, aside from being social and being cool and like knowing what your drink is and, you know, being able to hang. But I don't even like the taste most of the time. I do enjoy a good wine, like a really good wine. Yummy. If it's cheap, I usually don't like it. But if it's yummy, I'm a fan. So that's one thing that I've, you know, kind of put in place for myself, I guess. And it's a thing where, kind of like similar to like blocking exes, if you're actively blocking someone, that is still like energy in their direction, and I'm just not interested in that. So I'm not like at a point where it's like I never drink, I'm never drinking again. No, because if I'm at a beautiful winery in Napa Valley, I'm going to have a wine flight. Perhaps I shall get some cheese and have another wine flight because we're at a vineyard in Napa, so I will partake. I don't want to just have a glass of something because it's dinner time and because there's a cocktail menu. That's just like if you just woke up and decided to have a cookie because they would come and offer cookies at your door, which, I mean, maybe you would, that's fine. But most people don't have ice cream every morning for breakfast, right? Why not? So why are we having alcohol every night for dinner? You know? So just this boundaries with self thing, and time and energy, and like where I should place it. I had like a full crash out last night because I was so tired. I'm like recording voiceover auditions like on the floor because when I stand up in this room, the acoustics are a little bit different. So I was like in between the beds on the floor because it was a little more like closed in, trying to record using these new microphones. I can't even tell the character choices I'm making. I emailed my agency and I'm like, can you let me know if the quality is even worth it? It's 3:30 in the morning. Can you please let me know in the future? Like, is this worth submitting? Are you hearing me? I don't know. And then in that, moment, like technology wasn't working, and, I was sending stuff to my editor being like, hey, like, apparently you didn't get like half of the videos from this trip, and just lots of things were kind of piling on top, and I just had to crash it. I was like, what am I doing? I'm so spread thin, and I just was like, why am I having such a hard time delegating my time? Why do I feel the need to be just like doing a lot always? But then it's like at a point where I don't know how I'm supposed to stop. I mean, unless I just legit stop. I could just legit stop posting on social media, stop engaging, stop like responding to emails. But then I stop my career, right? I don't know. And this is helpful for me. So maybe I'm trying to do, more authentic content that isn't Not that everything has been like super curated. That's never been my style. But more conversational like this, because every time I try to come up with like a plan and a theme and a this, everything is moving around all the time. The most consistent thing that I can share with you as far as theme is exactly what we're doing. Is just yapping away, not in the same hotel room, but a hotel room, because that is honestly the most consistent thing in my life right now. I was in a pretty good place mentally last year, and this year I am not. I'm not doing great. I'm not doing terribly, but I'm not doing great. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself. Because I thought that we were making progress in that regard, and I feel like we were, and then we started losing progress. So, I don't know. I know that's a silly thing also to be like so hard on yourself for, but like I am hard on myself. As many of you guys probably are on yourselves too. I mean, I feel like we're all kind of hard on ourselves. My face feels so oily. Oh my goodness gracious. I hope I don't look like a literal shiny ball, because I feel like one. So this has been a kind of roundabout way to just talk about general boundaries and standard things, and maybe the thing is I just don't have anything curated to give you, but I want to share something, and maybe my messy thoughts will be helpful to somebody, because I just sit around with my messy thoughts all the time and sometimes don't know what to do with them. So I'm sharing them. Here they are. And I guess what started all this is I was just thinking about, there was an instance of, there's lots of instances like this, but whenever I'm at these weekends, sometimes there are extra signings or comped photos for like the volunteers, or extra meet and greets, or just all these little things. And there have just been a few moments where someone's like, oh, well, can you just do an extra 5? And, oh, can you just do this? Not all the time, but there's just some instances here and there. And like, oh, actually, we're going to add this thing on. And, oh, can you actually do this? And I kind of feel this little lurch, this little panic in my body, because I go, oh, I want to say no. I want to say no. But is it worth it? Is it worth because it's not technically a big deal most of the time. Not really. There's nothing at stake. I'm not for lack, of anything. It would take me maybe, 2 extra seconds or a little extra effort, but it wouldn't be too much. And so at what point is the boundary of me just being like, no, I'm only doing this, worth it for me versus potentially, it's helping out a show, helping out a rep, a fan, etc., because I know that sometimes that ends up making somebody's day. And there have been a few times where somebody missed a photo op and then they wanted to go do this thing over here and try to coordinate blah blah blah, and I could have just been like, no, I'm so sorry, I gotta go. But then whenever I'm like, okay, yeah, let's figure it out, like let's go over here and like take this extra photo, or do what else do they want, whatever. And as soon as I take care of it and they're so grateful, they're like, thank you so much, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that this happened, and blah blah blah. And then I'm like, okay, of course I'm glad I did it. Some of the more business side snafus, that, isn't really the case. And I just kind of am like, am I allowed to get pissed off, or are you gonna stop working with me because I decided to say no to something? Anyway, I would really be interested to see how I am treated if I was Michael instead of Michaela. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't have answers all the time, because then I see so many smiles and happy people, and also it like doesn't really matter. Like, I'm okay, I'm taken care of for the most part. I mean, not forever as of right now, but like I'm okay. Like, I'm good. So maybe that lurch of like little panic is just rooted in like things being taken away from me, quote unquote, being left without enough resources. I'm not sure. There's some more to unpack there, but that was kind of the specific example. Time for a drink. If you decided to make a drinking game out of it, there you go. But yeah, that kind of thing is what spurred the like boundaries, I don't know, general topic. This is going to be a little bit of a longer episode, I'm realizing. You're welcome. But yeah, I don't have a full answer on that. I deep down think like, if you don't want to do something, you don't do it, period. But I also think you should make that decision until you know the context. Yeah, making the decision based off of context, having a little bit more information is a good idea. Just something to think about. Take a few seconds to just think about boundaries and like circumstances when it comes to people, especially in work. I feel like, oh, can you just do this extra half day, or can you just take this extra case, or do you mind taking on the little bit of, email spam, whatever, from this client, all these extra things that people kind of just like trickle onto you. And if you're like, no, sorry, I don't have that capacity. If the other person gets mad, this is what I'm learning, that is a them problem / a company problem / situation problem. Like if somebody gets mad at you saying no, that is their disappointment that they can't use you for more. Whether or not it's warranted or not, maybe you should be doing more, in which case, okay, they can be upset and they can find somebody else. And then you can be like, okay, I guess they weren't liking what I'm doing, so I guess I will find somebody who does, right? Like it goes back and forth. Somebody got annoyed because in a lot of my contracts for these things, I have a certain number of like set autographs to like give to the show, to give to usually the volunteers and stuff. And I don't really know where a lot of those go. They're like, oh, they're full of volunteers. How do I know? They could be selling them to a shop somewhere, making a few extra bucks, which is fine, I guess, but it just makes me feel icky and uncomfortable. Like, just be up front if that's what you're doing. And if it is for the volunteers, great. It just, anyway, it seems like a lot sometimes. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm happy to sign, this many things. And then sometimes I like count the pile of items and there's more. Again, not often, okay? But it happens. And I get really uncomfortable because I'm like, okay, I know it's only like 5 more items or 10 more items, but like that wasn't the number. And you just doing that is kind of disrespectful. And then you being mad at me when I say no is also weird. But then why do I feel so guilty? What the heck? Yes, I'm in therapy. I haven't talked to her in a second though, actually, because the new year happened and scheduling was crazy. So I haven't. Oof. I'm just realizing I don't think I've talked to her. Oh my gosh, let me put in the numbers. Yeah, I should probably talk to her again. But I've talked to my therapist about this. I'm so grateful for her. I love her. She's amazing. Yeah, why do I still feel guilty? I think it's a me thing too. You kind of have to like own. You have to own your boundaries, not in like a standoffish way of like, well, I only do this. No. But own it of just like, oh yeah, like this was the set amount. Like I'm sorry if there was a miscommunication, but like this is all, I could sign, or this is all I take care of. This is what I do for the shows. If you want to discuss something different for the future, let me know. Like I would love to attach that version of myself to me in crisis mode or panic mode whenever somebody's like, oh, can you blah blah blah, and I'm like, in that moment, I would love that calm Michaela that we just saw to take over and communicate for me and be like, I thought we were doing this. So I probably not, but like maybe we can discuss me doing that next time. You know what I mean? There's a lot that we just covered in this episode. This is a very long episode. La 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 la. La 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 la. I have to get up tomorrow and do lots of work. I should go to bed. Think about boundaries. Think about boundaries for you within yourself, kind of own self-boundaries, personal boundaries. Boundaries at work, coworkers, bosses, expectations, friends, how often you can communicate, what communication means, how you think of each other, how you support each other. And you know what? I'm going to circle back to yourself. Oh, I guess I should throw in family members too. That's a whole other can of worms though. Family boundaries, that gets parents, I don't know, that gets messy. We can talk about that another time. But so I want to circle back around to you. Boundaries with yourself too. Maybe don't let yourself scroll on social media past 11. Maybe that's something that's really hard to keep a boundary for. Do a certain amount of skincare routine every day, or I don't know. Speaking of routine, take a shot. I'm just kidding. What is really important to you? What are the boundaries that you have to set for yourself, as yourself? I think that is a potentially never-ending, really fully answered question, but it's more ever-changing and definitely more developed, hopefully, as you get older and using references and experiences and stuff from when you were younger. I'm trying to figure out if I should wash my hair tonight. I'm pretty sure that means I'm ADHD. I just hopped from 2 totally different subjects. Or I was just around another time. We could talk for hours. But let me pull from our handy dandy book here, our creative act, A Way of Being, Rick Rubin. Let's see what Rick has to tell us tonight before we wash all the crap off my face. Oh. This is not going well. Hold on. Okay. There we go. Goodness gracious. Okay. Yo, listen. I am loving this book page idea. Oh my goodness. Self-awareness is a transcendence, an abandonment of ego, a letting go. Goodness gracious. That is wild. I did not plan that. I know that I initially pulled up some other page, but I wanted it to be that. Wow. Self-awareness is a transcendence, an abandonment of ego, a letting go. Maybe that's what really the crux of anything, hurt feelings, anger, judgment. Maybe it's all just rooted in ego. But that is a discussion for another time. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go wash the makeup off my face. Think about when I'm washing my hair. I gotta clean off my bed. It's kind of a mess in here. I gotta get my act together. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully this has been somewhat helpful, reflective, a little bit long. Maybe you have a drive, maybe you're getting ready, and maybe you have some new thoughts. And feel free to share them in the comments below if you'd like, or just keep them to yourself, mulling around in your brain. All right, guys. Thanks for joining in, and I will see you next time.